Animator Tech. This is Terry Kallenich, and we are continuing our series in our Maya tutorials for with constraints. This is part 4, and I think I'm going to make this specific lesson about weights and blends, but I'm going to make this into 2 parts. So for simplicity here, I just want to show you a basic constraint as we've always done before. I'm going to show you these values once and they will never change for this tutorial. And that is for blend parent, we want the offset on, and translates and rotates all selected. So as you would expect, the sphere moves with the first one, but we're going to key this, and I want you to take note here. We have our parent blend attribute and we have the weight attribute. So these two do work together, but the weight is only influential if the blend is set to 1. So if we have this blend parent to 1 and we put the weight to 0, you will then notice that the blend parent attribute has no power. There's no more influence. It's a switch to go on and off, but at this moment, because the weight is at 0, it's a switch to nothing. So try to remember that when you have a situation where you want an object to constrain to more than one thing throughout the animation, because your weights literally weigh in on how the object is connecting to which object. So just keep that in mind for this tutorial. So what we're going to do with this situation is, it's very common, it happens a lot, where a character is holding a rifle and then they need to change the magazine in the rifle. So that involves a hand going from the hand grip, the trigger grip here, down to the magazine itself. So I won't go into the hierarchy right now of the magazine, because I think we'll deep dive into that on another part. So what I'm going to first do is have the trigger handle constrained, or sorry, the hand constrained to the trigger handle. That's why I selected the wrist control second. We're just going to do a parent constraint to that. And now if I scrub, you'll see that the hand is moving with the gun as the gun fires. And now we're going to go into a sort of reloading position. And we're going to make the wrist here control, leave the handle, and move down to the magazine. So in order to keep everything clean, let's keep everything all on the same frame. We can always change that later, but it's good to kind of keep everything together as much as possible. So I'm going to now key this wrist control, and I'm going to also key the weight. Okay, now since I want the hand to be free from the rifle and able to move anywhere in the world without being connected to the rifle from this point forward, I'm actually going to do 2 changes here. But since I already have these numbers here, the blend and the weight to 1, and I want those values from this moment prior, I'm just going to hit key on both of these attributes right here. And on the very next frame where we've made that commitment, where we're going to leave the rifle alone from this point forward, we're going to middle mouse slide both values to 0. So what that does is, of course, it allows the hand to move wherever it wants, and the rifle will no longer influence it. So just a quick, remembrance here. These two are one values here and one values here and 0 value here. So that way we can then go to our new position where the hand is going to be underneath the cartridge here, just to pull the cartridge out. Let's just say that this is the pose we want, something like this, and we're going to key that. So let's just scrub back, see what we're doing. Okay. If we wanted to move the gun a little more, we could. We could just say, oh, we're going to accommodate this a little bit better. And so that's that. So there you go. So now, okay. So now, or we just want to make make it look like there's a physical connection to the cartridge, to the magazine on the hand. So now we have to start doing a blend, and in order to do that, we're going to connect the cartridge to a control. Just for simplicity's sake, we're going to connect it to this control because this is on the cartridge. And actually, no, let's do it on this one. So this is our main constrained control on the cartridge. I'll talk about the hierarchy in detail later on another tutorial, but for now, we're going to make the cartridge constrained to the wrist control. So the wrist is going to be selected first, and the cartridge is going to be selected second. And if we do a parent constraint, we're going to see on the cartridge node 2 weights here. And that's because we have a default magazine home position inside the rifle, and now a new established weight, which is the wrist. So since we've already made a decision that from this frame forward, the magazine is going to be constrained to the wrist, we need to establish that on the magazine control to say, hey, from this moment on, this weight is at 1, and the magazine 0 home position is no longer needed because it's going to be pulled out. So we should make that reflect this at this moment. So we can put that to 0. Now, yeah, and then put that to 1. And we still want our blend parent on. And we might as well just key everything, because this reestablishes a new world space position for the cartridge constraint control here. So let's just hit S. So everything's selected or keyed under this section of the control panel. Now, one more thing we need to do, and that is, let's just double check our weights here. Okay, so we've already established from this point forward the wrist is in control, but we need to keep the original cartridge position back here. But if I just scrub back, you'll see what happens. See how the magazine is going through the gun? That's because both weight values are, the wrist weight value is on, and the home position weight of the magazine here is off. So we want to put that back on to its original situation, and we want that to 0. So let's key that. We're not going to key off the blend of the cartridge because it needs it for this home position. So now if we scrub backwards, everything is working proper for the magazine. It's staying in the gun, and it's waiting for its handoff, pardon the pun, with the hand. So let's just do one little breakdown here, key, to not make it crash through the rifle here. Okay, so now from this moment on, the hand is going to pull the cartridge away. So from here on, we're going to do that. And we can do whatever we want here, but there'll be a few frames that are going to crash, and this is something you'll always need to do, and that is to eyeball some rough in between keys here to make it look like it's a little more organic and that it's being pulled out, and it'll be discarded. We'll go into that in another tutorial, and then let's go back to a position. Now let's move this a little more. So now it's in a different spot. Oh, we could first keep this in a similar position. I'm going to middle mouse drag just to keep this position. There we go. And now let's move that out and bring the hand back. So I just added a little level of complexity because I changed its new world space position here. So how am I going to get this back? Well, it's pretty easy. All we have to do is get a somewhat aimed position here to fit the cartridge back in. All right. And let's just scroll this back and let's just establish what are we doing here. So we've moved it, and let's just get one little breakdown key going to try to aim the cartridge proper. Again, we do this all the time when we're trying to fit objects square peg in a square hole here. We always miss. So there we go. We're starting to get this this moved in, and so we can do two things here. We could just move to a frame that we're going to get 100% of the cartridge, magazine cartridge, in the slot here, and it's pretty easy to do that. But before I move anything, I'm just going to place another key here just to reestablish our blend still being on the hand 100%. And these weights, we're going to still establish these current weight values, but we're going to say at this moment, that's when the cartridge is all the way in. So we don't even really need to move the hand much here. We could simply put this to 1 and put this to 0. And look at that. We have our home position. So even though the cartridge has a key that was plotted over here, the reason that the key is not overriding the home position is because the blend is on. If we had the blend off, let me just scrub one frame over and put that off, and then we had the weight back here, back to 1, it's not going to the home position because we did place a key down. That's more of a precaution thing, but just so you can see, the gun is free from the cartridge influencing the cartridge. That's because the blend is off. So there will be moments where you need to have the gun free of the cartridge, but connected to the hand. So that's why you have to remember that if your cartridge has two different weights blending between each other, you need this blend on. Okay, so that's something you need to have on. I'm going to delete that key. So again, we'll get into in detail with this later, but just to, send it home, so to speak, we're going to land that hand right at the edge here of the cartridge, as if it was slamming it into position. Something like that. And of course, you would typically do a little kickback, you know, something like that. Boom, and then the hand is still on the, something like that. So that this is a sort of a quick run through of the blending and weight transferring between a cartridge being grabbed and being put back into a prop. So we'll go into more detail in another part, but for now, thank you very much for your time.